Well, Bruce is a very outgoing guy, and he really was very curious about everything, about all aspects of life, and he liked to engage people in conversation and find out what people knew. He was very curious and very gregarious. He could engage anybody in a conversation. He was expert at that. Well, I think Bruce tried to comb all of the different philosophies and find everything that was legitimate, and he would hold on to that, and he'd throw out the stuff that was useless. And it also had to do with physical techniques. Useful physical techniques, he'd find a way to incorporate it into his art because it was something that worked, it was pragmatic for him. And the other things he would get rid of because they weren't pragmatic. Well, I had my own philosophy, and I gave Bruce books to read on Islam, and Bruce knew of Chinese Muslims. They have a lot of wushu techniques that are unique to them, and he was familiar with them and familiar with the martial arts from Indonesia and Malaysia. So he was aware of Islam, and it was not beyond something that he investigated. He had investigated different techniques from the Islamic parts of China. I first met Bruce Lee when I was attending UCLA, and I wanted to continue my martial arts studies. Someone suggested that I go and train with Bruce, and it worked out, and we became friends, and the relationship lasted for the rest of his life. He taught by example, and then he taught by having you do what you were trying to learn. So especially, with martial arts, it wasn't about theory. It was about, can you do this? If you can't do this, then we have to find out how we can substitute something for whatever this is, so that you cover this aspect of what he was trying to teach. He didn't believe that one size fit everybody. And every different person had to find their own solution to a martial arts situation, because we're all different sizes, different skills, etc. He maximized his strength by weight training and worked on his quickness, so that he was all business. There was no excess there. One thing he always would mention to me, he said, if you see somebody that's supposed to be a great master, and they're big and fat and out of shape, they shouldn't have a lot of credibility with you, because whoever that person was not really training hard and was just basing his mastership on different techniques that he knew that may or may not be effective in a real fight. Bruce never talked to me about becoming a movie star. He talked to me about how to be the best basketball player I could be. And one of the things that he suggested was that I do a session of weight training over one summer, which I did, and it certainly helped my game. He said being in the best shape that you could be would absolutely enhance whatever I was trying to do on the basketball court, and he was absolutely right. I was surprised that Bruce became so famous. It really didn't take much time. He left America and went to Hong Kong, and within 2 years he was an international star. I wasn't surprised at that. He had a good background in acting. His dad was an actor, and he had been a childhood actor and done the work that he did on the Green Hornet. So I knew that he was well-based in that, and all the pieces just came together when he got to Hong Kong. Bruce said that he wanted to do a variety of roles, and he was looking forward to working with some American screenwriters who have a different approach to story than they did in the Hong Kong movie industry. He felt that the American writers could write interesting stories that the people in Hong Kong wouldn't necessarily think of. Well, I remember seeing the Big Boss, and just everybody was impressed by the fact that people weren't flying and jumping over buildings and stuff like that. it was reality-based. It wasn't something that was just totally unbelievable. What Bruce was trying to convey in the Game of Death was how to deal with different forms. One martial artist going against people using different fighting styles has to overcome each of them. So in order to do that, you have to be versatile. You can't just take the same approach to dealing with different problems. And that's mainly what that was about. It was a lot of hard work doing the fight scenes because we had to shoot everything from different angles. So we had to try to do exactly the same thing for this camera and that camera, and then reverse things. So it took a lot of time, and you know, Hong Kong is very warm. It's in the tropics, so working in the soundstage, it was still like September when we did that, still very warm time of year. So it was hard going. Well, yeah, I remember one time Bruce almost fell off a ramp, and I had to catch him. And you know, we had a good laugh at that because he ended up like this in my arms, you know, like he was a baby. And then another time, one of the actors decided that he wanted to try to challenge Bruce right in the middle of a discussion. And Bruce had to deal with him. He put him on his behind pretty quickly, and that passed, and people decided not to try that. Bruce was already well grounded in jiu-jitsu. It was something that he knew how to deal with fundamentally. He didn't have an advanced degree in jiu-jitsu, but he understood the basic concept of it. And the way that he defeats me in that movie has to do with him getting me in a chokehold, which is pretty much how things have evolved with the mixed martial arts concept that everybody ascribes to today. Well, I don't think that there will be another Bruce Lee insofar as he was a pioneer in the whole concept of mixed martial arts and training eclectically like that. I think that he really distinguished himself. I think Bruce and the senior Mr. Gracie in Brazil really were way ahead of everybody in understanding that martial arts has to be pragmatic and useful. It can't just be dedicated to one style above everything else. I really think those two people were unique and ahead of their time by taking those positions and forming their art around that concept, and which made it very pragmatic art. It's funny, Bruce was more of a boxer, Mr. Gracie was a grappler, but you have to combine those two things in order to be a successful martial artist these days. So I think he has a unique place there. And you know, I don't think that Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone really have distinguished themselves as athletes. You know, they've distinguished themselves as actors. And you know, Arnold was a bodybuilder, but you know, bodybuilding, the way that he says he did it, you know, using steroids and things, really doesn't get that much respect. I heard about Bruce's death when I was at the airport in Singapore. I was on my way to see him that day, and I was in Singapore. I spent some time in the Middle East, and was taking that route home through Hong Kong so I could visit him. And when my plane got to Singapore, it was in all the newspapers that he had died the previous day. I'm sure Bruce's movies would have been very successful. He had all the charisma and physical ability to be a star that had some lasting power. I'm pretty sure of that. And I'm sure he would have been able to promote his concept of mixed martial arts, which is now the way that everybody views martial arts these days. He was way ahead of everybody in that respect.